Good day, one and all. So I promised I would do a update, well, just after Christmas. It's a little bit later than that because, as usual, me and Max got colds for New Year's, which was delightful. We were up with family Christmas week, which was really nice. Drove the bug up to Western Cambridgeshire as my parents, and then up to Norfolk, Wroxham, which was great. So I think we did about 550 miles in the little bug, which was great fun. I think the only issues we had was I don't know if it's the cold or the wet or whatever, but the start motor occasionally wouldn't kick over, so I'd have to crawl under there with my little wire and connect the two connections together on the start motor to get it to actually do anything. But all part of owning old cars, I guess. So yeah, I thought I'd do a little update at, like I say, end of last year, beginning of this year, because last year was an interesting one. I obviously spent most of the year building this cabin. So we go back to when I first started the upholstery stuff, just after the pandemic, like 2000 and not 21 was it? End of 2020. Yeah, end of 2020 it was. We were renting a house just down the road, and obviously I built the interior for my bus, and I think I started the bar hub at that point. And then obviously the upholstery stuff started kicking off. Did an interior for a friend, and before you know it, you've got like more requests than you can kind of keep up with. So yeah, we were already planning on moving, but the place we moved into, this place, obviously had a bit of a cabin in the garden, which we used for one winter, and then realised it was utter rubbish. No foundation, basically built straight on the ground. It was kind of breeze block built, and in the winter you'd have water pouring down the walls. So yeah, I thought, well, we'll knock it down, and originally looked at getting someone else to do it, but it's horrendously expensive for what they are. So I thought, well, it's not that difficult, we'll do it ourselves. So we started in March, and I think we moved in in October, November time into a usable space as it is now. Still not completely finished. Got the external cladding to do at some point, like it's watertight, and it's not going to have any problems, but I need to do the external cladding at some point. But at least we're in, and I'll flip the camera around a bit. We've got a good space to work in. I couldn't carry on working from our conservatory here. That was my temporary space while we built the new cabin, and it's just not enough room for the work I do. You're stripping a set of seats in a room that's not much bigger than the seat you're taking apart, and now I've got my 5 foot by 10 foot workbench. I've got enough room over this side for a sofa, all my guitars and gear, which is lovely. It's really me and the hound tonight down here, old Barnaby. He's 13 now, he's getting on a bit, but he loves it down here. That was last year. A lot of my time was taken up with this. Still managed to probably do about nearly an interior every month, but obviously I had a bit of downtime over the summer when we went up to Norfolk for a couple of weeks in the van. That's kind of the upholstery side of stuff. We're kind of at a point now where I've got stuff booked in for this year up to, I think, end of May at the minute, which is great. As most of you realise, I kind of do this alongside a day job. Work in IT, completely different to the upholstery stuff. For a guy that works in IT, my tech setup here, you'd be appalled. So I've got I'd usually record this on my iPhone. That's 5 years old. Cracked screen, dying, and I recorded about half of this and realised the audio was awful. So I'm currently recording this on my only other device, which is a Chromebook that cost me like 200 quid, but it does the job. So where are we at? So that kind of brings you up to date with the upholstery side of stuff. The big news I was going to mention tail end of last year, and some of you might have caught wind already, was so for the last best part of 10 years I've been renting a workshop out near Wimborne. I've kind of shared it with various people over that time. I think there was a period of a couple of months here and there where I had it just to myself, which was quite useful for painting the vans and painting the bug. But after 10 years I am moving out of that at the end of this month. Couple of reasons that kind of caused me to do that. The main one being the landlord down there has decided to double the rent, which for a hobby space just takes to the point where it's not viable for me anymore. That if I was splitting it between two of us, the old rent wasn't too bad. you kind of pay that every month and you don't really notice it. But doubling the rent to effectively the price of, you know, a decent unit I could get in Poole on a nice industrial estate, not in the middle of nowhere in Wimborne, down the end of a dirt track. Just gets to the point where it's not really viable for me anymore. So yeah, I had a long think about it and thought, like, you know, what am I actually gonna do here? Because at the minute, obviously, I've got my bay window sits in there over winter usually. Actually, when we had the old house for probably about 3 or 4 years, it lived on the drive quite happily, and the last few years I've tucked it away. But yeah, I kind of thought, well, that's not a problem. It can sit on the drive for a year or two. Quite happily, we've done it in the past, and you know they're designed to be driven, aren't they? So let's not worry about it too much. So that wasn't too much of a problem. The main problem is the split screen project, which, as you've probably noticed, I haven't really touched since November, something like that. Briefly thought about selling it, but in its current state, no one's going to buy it. Like, it's a right-hand drive van that needs, well, as you've seen, a ton of work, and I knew that. You know, it was always the plan. So the plan was to get it finished, and that is still very much the plan. Like, I couldn't sell it in the state it was, so it's okay. That leaves me with the only choice of keeping it. So it's like, well, how do I proceed with this and it not cost me a fortune? So the decision I've made is to try and bring it back to our house here. We have a single garage that I'm currently have used to store the bug in. Much like the van, the bug can go on the drive, that's not a problem. But getting the split into that unit is going to be challenging, to say the least. First of all, we've got the up and over door at the minute. That's just not going to work with a van in there. It's going to be up to the door, so with obviously the way the door shuts, it's going to hit the van as it opens. So this month is a bit of a mad month for me. I've still got a few interiors to put together, but alongside that, I'm going to be basically making a new door for that. So I had some metal left over from down the workshop from what you might have seen a few years ago. Would have been a year before last. I built some racking down there, which I've chopped up. I'm going to use that to make some metal, basically swing out doors, which I'll probably clad in wood or something. So then I can hopefully get the split in there. But it's just meant a whole bunch of reorganising that space, because it's not huge. The split will fit in there, but then I've obviously got all the bits to go in there. It's kind of given me a good chance to go through all the stuff I've collected over nearly 10 years for three cars that I've done. So yeah, I've ended up selling a few bits and pieces. The stuff I don't need immediately has ended up going in the loft. So yeah, this month's going to be a little bit of a stressful one, trying to get the van down, hopefully to fit in our garage. Like I say, the plan is end of January, I'm out of that unit and gone. But I kind of had a good chat with Max, and actually it's probably going to be quite a good thing, really. That the amount of money I'll save not renting that place, even if I'm, for a few years, should mean that kind of, I think long term, what I'd like to do is buy somewhere a little bit more rural than where we currently are, that I could build, not something probably as big as the workshop I had in Wimborne, but a decent sized space where I can put in at least one of my cars, and longer term the upholstery stuff I would like to start doing full fit outs for people. And I've done bits and pieces over the years, but it's always a bit tricky because it's either on my drive or trying to put it down the workshop in Wimborne, which is kind of full up with my projects. So yeah, like Milo's car that I've just finished, like I kind of finished the carpet on our drive here. Yeah, that's fine for 1 or 2, but longer term, if I can save a bit more because I'm not renting the Wimborne space, then that can only be a good thing, right? I mean, I kind of do this, like I say, alongside a daytime job, so it doesn't make sense for me to try and rent a space if I can build something at home, whether that be, well, probably won't be here, but somewhere else. I think that's going to be the better long-term option. So yeah, I think it's an exciting time, but at the same time a bit nerve-wracking, because obviously I've been down there 10 years. I'm kind of used to the way it all works down there, and I'm going to lose things like my 3-phase compressor. Not really going to be able to do any spraying here, maybe some primer work. I think the goal is over the next couple of years, probably definitely this year, probably will go into next year, maybe even the year after, get the metal work done on the split and get it into epoxy, and then by then hopefully I'll have a better idea of what the future holds. So there, that's kind of where we're at the minute. It was a bit of a busy time. Yeah, I've had some long evenings getting stuff sorted and trying to find space for everything. Being pretty brutal. Sorry, with getting rid of stuff I've kind of kept hold of for no reason really. I've kind of got. I can't remember how many interiors I've built over the last 4 years, but for each, I guess, unique seat that I've had, I've kept the old covers, and I've either made templates or kept the old covers in case I need them again. But I've kind of been brutal, and I'm basically binning all of the old seat covers I've got. Anything that is kind of a regular seat that I might do, whether it be an early bay, late bay, beat or whatever, I've kind of got templates made for them. So why keep it? Let's be brutal and get rid of everything. I think that's probably about it, really. I'll give you a quick nose around the cabin. I'm really happy with it. The fact that it's insulated it is just compared to the old build night and day. I can kind of come down here, and I've just got a tiny. I don't even know how big this thing is. It's not a huge kind of oil-filled radiator. You can put it on for an hour or so, and it gets the room up to a pretty nice temperature, and kind of keeps that. And certainly in the autumn, I didn't need the heating at all. The sun would kind of warm the room up, and you'd be good for an evening. So yeah, I'll quickly show you the room, and the interiors I'm doing at the minute. I've got a set of late bay covers that I've just finished for Karen. Just waiting for the frames to come back from the powder coaters, and then we can get those built up. And then a slightly interesting project. So Simon at NOS VW, I'm not sure how this ended up happening, but he had an engine for sale, and he's been bugging me for a little while to do the interior for his Studebaker pickup, and we've ended up doing a bit of a trade deal where I'm now doing the front seats and the carpet for his Studebaker in exchange for an engine for the split screen, which has worked out quite nicely really. That wasn't at this point really looking for an engine for it, but it's going to need one at some point. And yeah, it'd be nice to help him out with it as well, because I'll get some pictures up soon. It's a really cool truck. The existing covers are pretty horrible. It's like I don't know what you call it, like a mint green, but it's got like a pearlescent sheen to it, and they're a bit cracked. But yeah, I'm going to put those in for him this month. Sorry, starting on those in quite a cool leather that I'll again put some pictures up of. He basically wanted like an age look to it, so what I've done is managed to track down this really interesting leather that it's called brulee. It's like it's got a texture to it that it will crack really easily, so it will look faded really quickly. Like if I just get the little swatch I've got. A second. He didn't want it looking brand new, basically. So I had a look around, and I found a supply that does this stuff. I don't know if you can see that as you handle it, it kind of cracks really easily. So it's going to look aged really quickly. Like if I find a fresh bit there and stretch it, you can see it kind of cracks straight away, and it's just going to look really like it's been there for a while, which is the look he was after. So yeah, that should be quite an interesting one, really. So yeah, the workshop that I'm kind of, like I say, sat in our little this side of the cabin is, I guess, the chill out area. The dog is over there. I'll spin it around. Obviously got my guitars up, a couple of seats tucked away in the corner, and then the other end is, I guess, the business end. So we've got on my main workbench. I'm trying to look at this at the same time as filming. I've got my main workbench there, this Studebaker covers. Down the other end, there Karen's covers, all ready to be built up. If you spin around a bit further, obviously got my machine and all the tools and bits and pieces. But yeah, it works really well. That I've got, say, plenty of space. Let me just pop you back down again. Plenty of space to kind of work in, and don't feel like I'm having to pack everything away every time I need to use the conservatory or wherever I happen to be doing stuff in the past. I can kind of just turn the light off in here and out I go, and yeah, it's great really. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. It's going to be a busy year, I think. Once the split screen's back here and we've moved on from the old workshop. I think I feel a bit more relaxed, but at the minute it's just a bit. Yeah, just can't quite get my head around it. But yeah, onwards and upwards. And yeah, I'll keep you updated on the stuff we've got going at the minute. And yeah, hopefully that's updated everyone. Speak to you in a bit.